participants in this conference. Please announce yourself.
This is the 523 Happy Hour with your host, Kelly Lincoln, here on netrootsradio.com. Hello, good evening, and welcome. I don't know if you can. Oh, I've got everything so. What can I say? This is, gotta say, this is
the coolest way to start your weekend.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm the host for this. And this is, of course, the 523 Happy Hour. I am your host. I'm going to put this windscreen back on my microphone because I'm sounding oh so breathy. Pardon the noise. The noise you're about to hear is a windscreen. There we go. Isn't that fun? Going back over my the microphone capsule because nothing sounds worse than pops. I was at the Audio Engineering Society's convention this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it was a lot of fun. Got to see since I podcast and I do voice work, I don't have to cry over these beautiful, beautiful studio production boards that I can't afford. Instead, I cry over the microphones I can't afford, and I got to test out I tested out a lot of microphones, and gotta say, I'm in love with the Telefunkens. They're really nice microphones. I'm looking to upgrade my microphone for the show with a slightly larger capsuled dynamic mic. I'm keeping my cardioid microphone, my condenser microphone, for my voiceover work. I just killed my shock mount. I'll fix that later. Well, now I get to buy me a new shock. Now I get to buy a new shock mount for the condenser mic. It's the way of the world. You get a little money, and it wants to spend it in one place. And actually, on my way to the Javits Center, I actually found money. I mean, it was only $4, 4 single-dollar bills, but I still found money today. So I'm still working on that. I create money affirmation. I create money. I create money. I create more than $4 on the street, So that was a really good thing. I had started a vlog, which walking around to the Javits because I was walking right past the Oculus, but I was too frickin' lazy to walk all the way in. I'll do that later next week and have some pictures and some video and other cool stuff. So I get to the convention, I sign in, I get my credentials and everything. I start wandering around the floor. And as I was saying, the Telefunken microphones are really, really nice. The one I really liked was $3,000. And the other two that are like standard for broadcast in the Telefunken range, one is $8,000 and the other is $12,000. I guess I'm just going to have to get myself a Rode or an MXL or a Hair or a Shure, which is a little bit more affordable for me. Also, awesome sound. These are great microphones as well. MXL is a great budget microphone if you're looking to get into podcasting. There was a presentation actually by Focusrite on podcasting. They just started a podcast, and Focusrite makes small portable USB powered recording gear. I use a Yamaha 10-channel mixer, but I need to get a secondary audio card so my late night partner can actually hear our awesome jingle. Because when you have a setup with a podcast in what's called a mix minus one, your Skype guest or co-host can't hear squat other than your voice. All the other stuff is like not there. I might, change that round and bring her in again on through the laptop, but we'll see what we shall see. She still can't hear squat, but we'll see what happens. Dan from Focusrite was talking about podcast and how many there are and what's going on and the revenue is just amazing. So there's hope for me to start making a little bit of income, enough to pay for the Patreon subscriptions via the Patreon subscriptions that you, my good and faithful listeners, support me. And you can go to let me get that information here. If you like what you're hearing, you can go on over to Patreon /ATT show. And if you can spare, and if you got the money, I mean, I'm only asking for like $1 a month, and to begin with. And for that $1 or more subscription, monthly subscription, you will get a beautiful handwritten letter from me, which via the United States Postal Service, if you so desire to give out your home mailing address. If not, I will actually handwrite that email letter, that letter, and then scan it and send it to you. So you've got a digital, so you can print it out and have a handwritten thank you for supporting my Patreon. And if you want to know what I'm going to do with the vast sums of money that I will be getting, is that I will be investing in some new gears. And if you join at the journey, now that $1 to $9 a month, $1 a month subscription is the journeyman. It's the apprentice. And then you go to the $10 level or more, and you become a journeyman. This is, you also get a very nice handwritten thank you note, either snail mailed to you or scanned and emailed. Plus, you get an original piece of digital art from me as a thank you. If you decide that you want to be a tastemaker, which is a $40 a month or more per month, you'll get the handwritten, you'll get the digital artwork, and you'll also get a 48-page handbound journal, blank book. Well, for that, I will need your mailing address for that, since you're actually getting a physical thing, a journal, a beautiful handbound journal. So you can do that. See, I don't do no bumper stickers. I don't do no cheap shit. I do awesome stuff. So going back to Netroots, not Netroots. Yay! Also you can follow me on the Twitter, which is also twitter.com/ATT show. And you can like my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/masterlesspeople. And going back to the show, going back to the AES and all that good stuff. I mean, it was fun seeing vendors, exhibitors that I hadn't seen, for a year, because you get to know some of the exhibitors, and it's like, oh, so good to see you again. And there are now two women's audio organizations that are there. The Women's Audio Mission from San Francisco. They're awesome people, and Sound Girls, who are also awesome people. So that was like really a lot of fun to talk with them, to see there's a lot more women showing up to the Audio Engineering Society's convention, or AES. One of the featured, and I guess it was a lot of fun. It was great. I managed to get into in reserved all access panel on Wednesday, which opened my eyes to about a lot of something very interesting about sound, and it was done through an experiment in perceiving frequencies, and that's what it was about. It was about how we perceive sound, room treatments and the like, and people that in early childhood are trained in music, like we get piano lessons or guitar, or we just learn to play an instrument or sing, which is also playing an instrument. We have a different perception of sound than someone that doesn't have any musical training. I did not know that until yesterday. And the experiment that was done is that there was two tones that were played. And one of the panelists asked us all to, well, if it's, with our thumbs to indicate if the pitch was going up or going down. And the people who heard it going down were people who had been trained in music, had some musical training. People who heard the pitch go up had none. And that was like really that was not kind of mind-blowing, it was. So, they're talking about how different sounds and opening yourself up creates new neural pathways. So we perceive a wider, in a more not analytical, but more I don't want to say holistic. I didn't like the words they used, but because they were too organic and organic. But it's just that our brains are tuned to hear the whole rather than the parts, or I guess the parts rather than the whole. One of the two, but we people who have had music training hear things different. Actually, do hear different. So it would be kind of interesting to see that those people who understand the bullshit coming out of Washington, D.C. these days, who's had music training and who hasn't. To see if that nuanced distinction exists outside of music. See, I should be a researcher, because that would be a really perfectly awesome research topic. To get a group of people, have them listen to the same stuff without commentary. And have them just thumbs up if it's bullshit, thumbs down if it's not. And then ask who's had music training and who hasn't, and see if there's a correlation. Probably not, but I think it would be really, really interesting. But that's just me. I don't know about you. What about you? Would you find that type of a study interesting? Would you like to see if there's a way of tuning one's bullshit meter? Pardon me, I am drinking tea. And let's see what's new. What else is new? Talking about nuanced songs. Randy Rainbow has a new song out. I don't have it queued up because I haven't approached him about permission to play his music. So instead, in appreciation of I will once again play.
Me and with Cohen, Ty Cobb, and Jay Sekulow, while the feds get closer every night. bitching and moaning and tweeting and groaning. A new lawyer will make things right. Whoa, Julie, 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 Giuliani. Giuliani, why are you still there? Don't you know the president's a commie? Giuliani, we don't really care. Oh, Julie, 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 Giuliani. Giuliani, why are you still there? Don't you know the president's a commie? Giuliani, we don't really care.
Now, I don't really think that Rocky... Thank you, Rocky Mountain Mike. That was Giuliani. Rocky Mountain Mike's an awesome creative song parodyist, which is why I asked permission to play his stuff. Now, personally, I don't think Giuliani is a communist. I don't think the president's a commie. I think he is... he's not even a good mobster. See, I'm not really surprised by what he is doing, because he actually at one point questioned why he couldn't take bribes. Why can't I? Everybody else does. Why can't I do it? See, he wants to be on the same playing field as every other, He doesn't quite understand that you hold yourself to a higher standard. That's how you get respect. And, you don't do it by, shaking down heads of state like he's doing. I think I'm going to try and keep that to the only level of politics today. Well, I'm still talking about the Audio Engineering Society, but I had to get that shot in because man is brilliant, and of course you have to remember that this is an ADHD approved podcast. Live stream here on netrootsradio.com, and continuing on with my wanderings through the Audio Engineering Society's convention, and then going at Javits, and then going through the breezeway into the NAB, which is National Association of Broadcasters, and seeing all the really cool video camera gear and all that good stuff. Talked to some very cool people there, hooked up, connected back up with the Future Media Concepts. I was Pro Tools certified through them, and they're here in New York City, and they're a really, really good, excellent training ground. They've got online. I'm not getting paid for this, but FMC also, not only do they have a physical campus where they have some really, really good, where they have really excellent training, certification training, they also have online, so you can be anywhere and do this. And it was fun talking with them and catching up and getting their swag. Yeah, this was a remarkably swag-free, gimme free shit AES, and I guess that's because everything is going digital. So the stuff that they used to let you have, cable ties, you're losing cables. I still need cables because I'm not completely digital, and I don't think I'm ever going to get there because I just can't afford it because it's rack mount and it's networked delivery, and it's all sorts of really cool stuff and things that are beyond my needs. But there were some really cool cameras, some really good workshops that were happening at the same time as the AES workshops and panels that I was interested in. Did one on sound design. Sat in on one, which was another very, very fascinating, and talking about how the sound designers work. It's hired by the director, and it's a collaboration between the director and the sound designer to achieve the environment for the actors, and then letting the producer deal with things like song clearances and and they were talking about how hip hop has made it a lot more difficult because there's more people There's more entities that you have to get clearances through. Used to be it was just the clearances through the composer lyricist, and unless it was public domain, and now it's the composer lyricist, and every single entity that owns the mechanical rights, the recording rights, owns the rights to the samples. So if you're doing a song that has like 3 or 4 different samples in it, you have to want to use a song with more than one sample. You have to get clearance from the composer of the song, the rap hip hop artist, or whoever is composing. If it's a hip hop or rap, then you have to track down the rights owners for each individual sample that's used. So it's become more difficult to use contemporary music, especially which makes it difficult if you're doing a play that takes place in a contemporary environment. So you need that music, and in that context, they were talking about Frost Nixon and how the sound designer had music from 1968, which was what the music from that era was actually the most popular in the lobby, to play in the lobby. And and how they went about getting the rights, again, how they, had to hang speakers, and then if they had to move a speaker, having to have the lighting people, not freak out that a light had to be moved, which can screw up the light plot. You have to refocus, you have to rehang it in a different position, refocus. I mean, it can get very, very complicated. And so that's the other job of the design of a sound designer, is to be like an ambassador of goodwill, especially if you're the assistant sound design. If you're the assistant, hi, I have to. Can you? Yeah, I know that's kind of. Yeah, thank you. I'm. Can you move this? I've got to move this speaker 2 centimeters over, and that's gonna fuck with this particular light. So, is it possible for you to move this light to the other side of the speaker? Thank you. And again, the panel was made up of 3 women, and you're seeing more and more women in the industry, which is really exciting. And the panel that I sat in on unknowingly crossed the line. I wasn't supposed to be behind that barrier. So I ended up having to leave a computer-generated music seminar. And that sort of blew up in my face when I wanted to go hear there were 3 panels behind the barrier curtain, the all-access curtain, that I wasn't able to attend because they actually had somebody there checking to make sure that you had the all-access pass. So that was fine. I ended up sitting through not just the podcast, the Focusrite podcast, which I had listed as one of the things I wanted to sit in on. But then I got a chance to listen to this incredible mixing editor by the name of Sylvia Massey. And she is just an incredible engineer. And she's a producer. She got started in college radio and decided that, radio production wasn't for her because it was all commercial. So she moved over to the music department and started producing, local school bands and garage bands. And she's worked with Tool and Johnny Cash, Prince, Tom Petty, Red Hot Chili Peppers, nobody of note. And she's an amazing personality. And she was talking about, excuse me, the absolutely insane wonderfully insane objects she has used to create filter effects. Besides the standards, feeding things back through cabinets and the like, she has routed sound through cheese, hot dogs, cheese dogs, light bulbs. Gone the John Cage route with snare drums by putting objects inside the drum heads, taking off the drum heads and sticking flatware or coins or tools on the inside, and then letting having the vibrations from those things along with the little springy things at the bottom create sounds, and electric microphones. How to build a microphone out of a 10-inch speaker to get more sub-frequencies from the bass drum, from the kick drum. Just amazing. And it was a lot more interesting than I was expecting, because usually when you're talking to a producer, it's sort of like, and then we did this. It can be kind of dry if they go really technical, but she was just amazing. And it was also kind of amusing. I have a face that looks like everybody else's face as well, because she's looking at me towards because I asked her a question, because when she was showing I put stuff in the drums, in the snare drum. I immediately thought of composer John Cage, who would put objects inside a piano to get different tones from the strings. It was known as a prepared piano. And I asked her a question about that, and she was sort of like, and she talked a bit about another avant-garde composer by the name of Harry Stockhausen. And so afterwards, walked up and spoke to her briefly, and she goes, "You look really familiar. Were you at NAMM?" No. I seem to have a face that everybody seems to know. And then I got home, and I should have asked if she had been at the Fab Mab in 1980 on just before Election Day, because I did a show at the Fab Mab, the Mabui Gardens, which was was a well-known punk rock club. Up in North Beach. And so who knows, maybe she saw me there. Could be. You never know. Actually, that was my nightclub debut, and I appeared as Betty Boop, singing a parody of Suicide is Painless. And I had no fun. I also had to try and find sheet music for Springtime for Hitler from the producers, from the movie The Producers. And I remember having to call up calling this one sheet music store in the city, and the woman with the German accent answers the phone, and I'm thinking, holy shit. And I had to ask her if she had this song, and I did not qualify. It's saying, from the movie The Producers, do you have Springtime for Hitler? No, she did not. It wasn't even in print. The sheet music had not been published, but I did not know that. Because there was no internet, and so no way of finding out. We did it, though. But this Sylvia Massey is just and the topic of her talk was the secret ingredient, and her secret ingredient. The secret ingredient is creativity, opening up new ways of getting performances out of singers, and sounds out of instruments, and all in service to the artist. When I do have an interview, I try not to talk over, through, or around my guests, because it's about them and not about me. And I have had some really wonderful guests, and I would like to have more. I'm working on that, because I think you guys would be, I know you folks would be like really interested in hearing two people actually talk rather than one person blather. But then again, maybe you do like blathering. So I also want to give a shout out to everybody that has been listening to the podcasts and the live streams. It warms the cockles of my heart to know that you guys are listening to the show.
Hi, it's Tom. Just asking in the spirit of the season, which you probably have been racking your brain to give to a most worthy cause, could we humbly suggest your donation to netrootsradio.com? All we've got to run this 24-hour powerhouse of progressive resistance radio is what comes out of our own wallets. And you are our biggest donor. It doesn't take much, $3, $5. Just go to the bottom of our netrootsradio.com page and hit our secure donate button. Heck, you can even make a recurring contribution, and you'll get a wondiferous pair of Netroots radio stickers for application to your backpack, your bumper sticker, or your banjo. Well, it's up to you which backpack you want to put it on. So donate what you'd like at the bottom of our netrootsradio.com's homepage, because you are our biggest donor. netrootsradio.com. Together, we are Resistance Radio.
Resuming episode. Resuming episode.
You're listening to the 523 Happy Hour with Kelly Lincoln here on netrootsradio.com.
That was so pretty. Welcome back. What else is happening here? Oh yeah. Now that news from the Twitterverse. Twitter says it's going to restrict users from retweeting world leaders who break the rules. That means, which I actually rather like that, because the idea is to not amplify the bullshit. And while I unblocked the squeeze crab, I don't retweet him. I won't amplify him. Because why give him a wider platform? The media does that on their own in the evenings. It's, his bullshit tweets should not be amplified. See, he's a perfect troll because he knows people will get in their outrage. While he's rage tweeting, he knows that people will rage retweet him. I refuse to do that, and I think everybody else, all progressives, should do that. Just say, okay, fine. You can respond to it, but you don't have to retweet it. You can block him. Excuse me. That works perfectly well, but they're going to, enforce the rules differently. Now, they're going to, like I said, restrict users from retweeting world leaders who break the rules. See, the social media giant says it will not allow users to like, reply, share, or retweet offending tweets, but instead will let users quote tweet, which means you can copy and paste. Quote the tweet rather than retweet it, but you're still amplifying it and retweeting it. The company said the move will help its users stay informed about global affairs while balancing the needs to keep the site's rules in check. They will err on the side of leaving content up unless you are a private citizen and upset some right-wing snowflake. And that's also why they're not going to suspend Trump's account. And this is, they've also said it. So we want to make it clear that we want to make it clear today that the accounts of the world leaders are not above our policies entirely. And part of this may allow people to engage their leaders directly, but the thing is that they don't give a shit about responding to you. They won't respond to you. Trump does not respond. He goes off on his Twitter rages. Going on, Kamala Harris, appealed to Jack Dorsey to suspend his account because he tries to threaten and intimidate people who would tell the truth. Like the whistleblower, like he's been really quiet about Rudy. And going off on Giuliani, I can understand why he would defy this subpoena. He's under investigation, criminal investigation, counterterrorism investigations. He's not going to, he knows damn well that anything he says publicly, if he appears in public, and he'll have to commit perjury. He'll have to lie to Congress in order to not have anything he may say used against him in the course of the investigations. And so in that regard, I can understand why he would say, no, I'm not going to testify. They could depose him in secret. But then again, the question again becomes: would he throw little Donnie and throw little Donnie under the bus? That becomes the question. Personally, I think he would. Personally, I think he would. Sorry about the dead air. I'm distracting myself with the now dead pop screen on my condenser mic, which is why I need to get a new shock mount for it. It's a little shitty shock mount, crappy shock mount to begin with. I didn't pay a lot of money for it, so I can't complain too much. It'll work. It'll still work, I think. I have no internet.
You're listening to the 523 Happy Hour with Kelly Lincoln here on netrootsradio.com.
Isn't it pretty? I made it. Anyway, while trolling through one of my favorite non-political websites is Science News Daily, or ScienceDaily.com. Came across an article about how humans have salamander-like ability to regrow cartilage in joints, and it's subtitled, "The process could be harnessed as a treatment for osteoarthritis." Now, this would be really freaking awesome if we could regenerate cartilage. It'd be really, really cool. And it says, we believe that an understanding of the salamander-like regenerative capacity in humans and the critically missing components of this regulatory circuit could provide the foundation for new approaches to repair joint tissues and possibly whole human limbs, said senior author Virginia Briarhouse, MD, PhD, professor in the departments of medicine, pathology, and orthopedic surgery at Duke University. Krauss and her colleagues, including the lead author Ming-Feng Shui, PhD, devised a way to determine the age of proteins using internal molecular clocks integral to amino acids, which convert one form to another with predictable regularity. That is so fucking cool. What that means is that got a knee injury and they have to remove cartilage, they can regrow the cartilage. You got, any type of cartilage injury damage, they can regrow the cartilage, which is really cool for people with diseases that, or injuries, like knee injuries. I've ripped the cartilage under my kneecaps, and some of the cartilage in my left knee under my left kneecap has been abraded away because it was damaged, And now if I smack my knee against anything, it really frickin' hurts. It so hurts. And this would be like really cool. Would put a lot of wouldn't have to use like fillers or it would just be so nice to have to be able to regenerate your own have your body regenerate cartilage the way it can regenerate bone when you break or crack a wrist or something. But I thought that was a really, really cool article, and you can find it over at, like I said, ScienceDaily.com, which I recommend the website. It's fascinating. There's a lot. It's a science news aggregate, and they have like this article is a distillation of the bigger paper, and it will direct you to that original paper or the original publication site, and it's a good way to build new neural pathways. So I was going to read an Ambrose Bierce short story, but my printer is not cooperating with me. So I'm going to read a long Oscar Wilde story. That I haven't read, but actually, can I read? Oh, yes, I can actually read this one, even though how many pages is this? No, it's too long to read. So I'll read. So for closing, when I close, I'll be reading Oscar Wilde's shorter story, The Disciple. But in the meantime. Also, the other reason I'm not reading The Teacher of Wisdom is that I haven't really rehearsed it enough to justify reading it. However, we are going in on Ukraine. This is a New York Times article. When, Mr. Trump wants to know who the whistleblower is. So so there's an internal review of the Ukraine call. Who is on it? Who dropped the dime? So what's left of the White House staff is quaking in their boots. And, the joke's been going around that it was Melania that blew the whistle, but I am pretty well assured that he doesn't let her anywhere near the, those conversations. He makes, She's probably with parents and son most of the time, because this show's all about him. It's all about him.
Up is down. Well, that's just maddeningly unhelpful. Why are these things never clear?
Why, it's clear as the Egyptians in the fog, and the clear stories by the South North. Well, I think, this is my opinion, and we all are entitled to our opinion and to spew them ignorantly or not, that the whistleblower is him. He comes right out and says shit. When he came out, when they released the transcript of the call, which confirmed what had been contended in the whistleblower's report, the whistleblower became irrelevant, except in the fact that the whistleblower psyched out Donald Trump. See, the reason Trump tells on himself all the time. He has no way, because he wants the world to know how clever he is. He thinks he is. So he brags. And once you put it out there, you can't take it back. We all know that. We've all tried it. You know that. We've all tried it. You know, we find out at an early age that admitting to something and then recanting doesn't help. I guess looks at, criminals who have, confessed to crimes and then recanted. Oh, too late. I didn't, you pled guilty. I didn't do it. You pled guilty. I didn't do it. We have evidence that you did do it. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. And, I mean, it's the irony of the recanting or the forced confessions is when you take a look at his response to the exoneration of the Central Park Five, the 5 young men who were coerced into confessing to a crime they did not commit. There's in Thwimp's universe, they're still guilty even though they were proven innocent. And why are they still guilty in his universe? Because they confessed to it. They can't take it back. There's no backsies in his world, unless it's him taking the backsies. And yes, and that's why I think, again, this short story is appropriate. I was also watching Monsters Attack, which is a Godzilla movie, but it centers more around a little boy named Ishiro who is bullied, and he escapes into the fantasy world of Monster Island, where Gojira reigns supreme, and Gojira also there's a little Gojira named Manira, who's a little Godzilla, who, when he tries to breathe fire, breathes smoke rings, and he too is being bullied by Gabera. And Gojira and Manira is saying that his father, Gojira, tells him that he has to fight his own battles. He has to learn to stand up for himself and fight his own battles. And this is the dream world that this bullied little boy escapes to. And in the course of the story, there's a bank robbery, and the bank robbers kidnap him because he witnessed it. He can identify them. And so at one point he realizes that in a lot of ways, well, he's sitting in the back of the car. He comes to understand that he too has to stand up for himself, because, and this starts his, beginning to outwit the criminals. And the plot gets a little twisty from there, and you don't see much of Gojira or Manira or Gabera, who gets whipped first by Manira, who manages to actually land a couple of really good blows, and then Daddy steps in and, how dare you hurt my kid? You stood up for yourself, so now I'm going to help you out. And Gabera goes running off into the sunset. Gabera, good. So that's why I'm reading this story. But first, I need to pull it out of my. I need to get my reading glasses back out. The Disciple by Oscar Wilde. When Narcissus died, the pool of his pleasure changed from a cup of sweet waters into a cup of salt tears. And the Arids came weeping through the woodland, that they might sing to the pool and give it comfort. And when they saw that the pool had changed from a cup of sweet waters into a cup of salt tears, they loosened the green tresses of their hair and cried to the pool and said, "We do not wonder that you should mourn in this manner for Narcissus. So beautiful was he." "But was Narcissus beautiful?" said the pool. "Who should know that better than you?" answered the Orids. "Us did he ever pass by, but you he sought for, and would lie on your banks and look down at you, and in the mirror of your waters he would mirror his own beauty." And the pool answered, "But I loved Narcissus, because as he lay on my banks and looked down at me, in the mirror of his eyes I saw ever my own beauty mirrored." And now, Comfortably Dumb, a Pink Floyd parody by Rocky Mountain Mike.
Hello. Is there anybody in there who's not a total moron? Are Republicans all dumb? Come on now. I saw you beat 'em down. We all feel the pain of a bigoted campaign. Relax. You'll spread misinformation first. You're divorced from facts, and it doesn't really hurt. There are no thoughts they are receiving. Some dimwit twits there on your horizon. You are getting men who live in caves. Their lips say they'd still like to own slaves. When I was a child, I had Trump fever. My head was empty like a blue balloon. Now I got that feeling once again. I can't explain, you would not understand. I'm brainwashed for this man. I have become Trumpfully dumb. Have become Trumpfully dumb. Okay. He's just a little dim prick. He'll do no more. But his followers are sick. Now can you stand it? I do think I should protest. Good. That'll get you punched out at his show. He's really got to go. There are no thoughts they are receiving. Some dimwit twits there on your horizon. He's been spreading hatred based on race.
Thank you, Rocky Mountain Mike. That was Trumpfully Dumb. Yes. And now, stay tuned for Katie Speaks with Katie Klobuchar. And tune in later tonight. That's 1 a.m. Atlantic time, 12 a.m. Eastern time, and 9 p.m. Pacific for the late night morning talk show with Kelly and Ricky here, right here on netrootsradio.com.